All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we are live here with Yong. Yeah?
What's up, everybody? It's Yong here, and welcome to the Codec. Really happy to have you guys here, and really happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. And Korrupt Ronin.
What's up, guys? Korrupt Ronin here. Happy to have you all joining us today, and welcome to the Codec, which is going to be a weekly show. I can guarantee you I won't be on it all the time, but I'll do the best I can to be here. I'll say that.
Awesome, and we definitely appreciate that. So yeah, guys, the Codec is what we've decided to call the new show, and I just want to put out the disclaimer right there because I heard it from my bosses, I heard it from some fans in there. It is not a specific to Metal Gear show. Obviously, that's the main theme of the show is Metal Gear. That's where we got started. Our first interview was with David Hayter. That's the first time this group of amazing casters were here together, and I felt like that should influence the name a bit. And the codec in the games are used to communicate with all sorts of different characters, so I figured why not apply that to the everyday life. So we'll be communicating with many guests, celebrities, voice actors, whoever wants to come on the show, and the codec will be the catalyst for that particular thing. So that is the reasoning behind why we're calling it the codec and whatnot. Always will remain Metal Gear themed. However, there will be non-Metal Gear people coming in here eventually. And, when there's Metal Gear news and we don't have a guest, we'll be talking about it just like we are today. And we've got a pretty good lineup for the discussion today. I think we're going to start out with Konami saying mobile is the way of their future. One game slated for release in 2015 for the consoles, which I believe is Metal Gear, and not much else coming from Konami.
Did you say Metal Gear? I have not read the articles because I've just been busy with the Metal Gear preview.
Yeah.
Did they say Metal Gear from mobile is coming? Is that what you're saying?
No, they said this is the only console game that they have slated for this year is Metal Gear. Everything else will be mobile related. What is your
almost had a heart attack, huh?
Gave me a shock.
I'm sure Metal Gear Mobile is coming. If we put two and two together, they say new Metal Gear's planned, up and coming. Mobile's the way of their future. I'm planning on seeing many more mobile Metal Gears, but we'll talk about that in just a second because it might not be. I mean, obviously it's bad, but not be as bad as we think it is. But what's your initial thoughts on that, Young?
Well, financially, I guess it makes sense. I mean, Konami, their console franchises just aren't cutting it lately. They got Pro Evolution Soccer, they got Metal Gear, but that's about it. So, I mean, business-wise, I guess it is a smart move to go to mobile because, the market is shifting towards mobile, although I don't think consoles are dying, but there's certainly a good audience for mobile. So, financially, it makes sense, but in terms of dignity or something along those lines, I don't know, man. I think Konami has just shot itself in the foot, and I'm just worried for
bad.
and I'm just worried for things like Metal Gear. I hope they are at least making some dedicated console games. I'm really curious to see what they do with Metal Gear without Kojima. But I just hope it's not mobile, because I just don't think that's gonna work. It's not gonna be the same caliber, not even close. I don't know. I'm curious to see what kinds of games they make, if they take franchises that exist and then adapt those into mobile, or if they just make new franchises altogether. I hope it's the latter, and they keep the franchises they already have, and for consoles. But I mean, I don't know. The future it's unclear.
It definitely is. Ronan, what are your initial thoughts on that?
Honestly, truth be told, I'm not all that surprised that they decided to make this shift. A lot of Japanese-based developers are starting to make this shift in general. One of my co-hosts that I have on a different podcast that I'm on, he's Japanese, and his visits to Japan, he comes back and tells me things, about how console gaming as a whole has had a drastic shift in the way people handle that in Japan, where it's more mobile and portable focused.
Right.
Yeah.
So for Konami, a Japanese-based business, it makes more sense for them to go after the mobile market. Granted, us being big fans of the games that they have on consoles, that doesn't mean anything good for us. But business-wise, for them, I can see this being a smarter move. However, Konami, in the beginning, they were not a game developer or a publisher. They, I recall, my friend told me that they started off as a jukebox business.
Wow.
They made jukeboxes.
I had no
That's
idea.
their biggest. I think their biggest seller is like what, pachinkos or no, not pachinkos.
Yeah.
Some kind of casino thing. And
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think,
because
I think it was Pachinko's, man. I
they
saw an
do a lot
article
of
on that.
they do a lot of stuff outside of gaming. They do a lot of like casino stuff like that. And actually, just recently there was a law passed in Japan on gambling, that where they're removing a lot of restrictions on that. So it also gives them a new leeway to take advantage of that as well, which encourages their shift away from console gaming.
right.
Which is absolutely crazy. So here are my questions. You know how I like to do. I like to give you guys the topic, and then I like to ask you questions about it. That's how I pretty much do it in every post show or pre show that we do together. So starting with you, Yong.
Yeah.
This is why I said it might not be as bad as we think it is. Let's just say it's not going to release any more console games. They don't have any scheduled for release this year other than Metal Gear. They haven't announced anything, at least as of yet. There's E3 coming up, so we could be seeing maybe something there. But do we consider mobile like Portable Ops and Peace Walker and the Metal Gear mobile game, which I believe for its time wasn't incredibly terrible? I've seen some screenshots and some gameplay of it, and it didn't look bad from 2000, I believe 7 or 8 when it came out. And do you think those are going to be what they're kind of focusing on? Is not necessarily mobile for your phone, but maybe mobile for like your PSP or your DS or things like that?
I think those are still in some ways dedicated consoles. They're portable consoles, but they don't make calls. They don't browse the internet well. They don't do the stuff that smartphones
They don't support microtransactions. I don't.
Yeah, no. Well, you never know.
Not yet.
The future.
Not yet.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, these are still dedicated consoles. The reason people buy smartphones is because it does everything, right? I mean, it can do gaming, it can make calls, it can text, it can browse the web. There's apps for everything. That's why it's an all-in-one device. Gaming consoles are just for gaming, period. And I think that's the appeal of smartphones, personally. And so I don't think Konami is going to go with, like, for example, PS Vita it hasn't been selling that well. It's been doing decently in Japan, but outside of Japan, it's not been doing very well. 3DS has been doing quite well, but there's certainly more smartphones out there than 3DSs. But so I think portable consoles are still dedicated consoles, and if Konami means what they said about focusing on just mobile, I don't think they're going to go for portable either.
All right. With that said, how about the term of the technology where we're at today, where right now I can take my phone, which is just a regular smartphone, it ain't nothing special on the Galaxy or anything like that. Sure. I can install an emulator on this and play PSP games at a 60 frames a second almost on the phone. Do you think they'll apply some sort of technology like that? That way you still have the quality of what they've been producing? Because I can't see them going from these huge multi-million-dollar projects to something like Angry Birds Metal Gear themed. You know what I mean? Do you think it's possible to have a game fleshed out with a story on a mobile device?
I don't know. I haven't seen any. Maybe I just haven't played mobile games enough. I just have not seen any mobile games that have offered a rich experience. I've seen games that are fun, for 10 minutes, and to go back to once in a while, like little mini games and stuff like that. But I haven't quite seen something that feels like something fleshed out, like a grand scale kind of thing. Everything just feels kind of dumbed down because of the platform. You don't have dedicated buttons and analog sticks, all of which are necessary to, first of all, to have a good gameplay foundation. And then in terms of story and stuff, I feel like they just don't pay much attention to that with mobile, because
it's mobile.
It's mobile. They feel like they can just make money from the fact that people just like to play these things, minutes at a time. I think that's the appeal of mobile. And you can't make a story that's fully fleshed out if you have people only playing 10 minutes at a time. You need to have them play, like an hour or two per session. otherwise the storytelling is just not going to be effective, and I think that has a lot to do with it. But from what I've seen, I just haven't seen anything terribly extensive with storytelling on mobile. So I don't know.
Ronin, your thoughts on storytelling on mobile devices, and do you think we'll see the same production quality, maybe like a Peace Walker style, not the HD remake, but the original like Peace Walker or Portable Ops, that kind of level of gameplay in a mobile device? Do you think that's possible?
I think it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen. The reason why I say that is because a lot of mobile devices, like smartphones, for example, a lot of their games are, they're designed to be consumed in small bite-sized portions. That way it hooks in the audience that they're trying to reel in, and it gets them to play the game. Or you have those numerous amounts of free-to-play games with microtransactions, for example, where that becomes a big thing because people can download those easy. That's easy access. You get a game for free, pay what you want later, right? So to do something like a Peace Walker, for example, on that, I don't think people are going to have the time, the battery life, or the attention span to sit there and play a game like that for long periods of time and expect it to work. I think the technology is there to do that for sure, but I don't think anybody's going to do that on their phone.
Also, I don't think there's enough. Like you can't play Peace Walker with touch controls. It's just not possible.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's possible, but it's going to be
I
crap.
have a.
It'd probably be a frustrating mess for sure.
I have a thing that actually lets me use a controller on my phone from SteelSeries. So that was my way that I was able to, because I literally have a PSP emulator
with a console, you always get a control with every console comes with a control.
You have to. This would be an extra peripheral.
Exactly. With smartphones, it's more of a it's an extra thing that so not everyone has a physical input. So not everyone is going to have the same experience, and that I think has a lot to do with it.
So the final thought on this subject for me has to be: do you think that we, as the consumer here with Metal Gear Solid, here's a conspiracy theory, with Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, were we the test market for this back then with the companion app that came with Ground Zeroes? Did they see all of the downloaded data from that and say, "Wow, we should really invest something into that"? Because I played that for a long time. I'm gonna be honest. I played the mission builder, the mother base creator. I played that. I recruited troops. I sent them out to battle, like in Peace Walker, but on the mobile thing, and it was fun. It was a fun time. That was just once. I listened to all the cassettes on this because I didn't want to have to sit there and not play the game to listen to the cassettes. So I listened to all the cassettes on my mobile. I played the game on the mobile, and I used the mobile device as my iDroid while I was playing on the 360. I haven't done it for the computer.
That was free, wasn't it? The companion app? Okay.
Yeah, the companion app was free, and that's my point. Maybe we were a test market for this mobile shift, because this is about a year ago, and I think that would be enough time for this data to be collected and processed between then and now. And now we see a shift into the mobile market, which hopefully this is all just a big fakey ruse thing, and it
would be nice.
They plan on sticking to it, because I don't necessarily have like a love for Konami itself. Like, I like its games, but it would still be a shame to see franchises like Castlevania and Silent Hills and stuff like that fall into a mode. I can just see the Silent Hills mobile game being like Slender Man.
Oh, speaking of Castlevania, I think the guy who the creator,
Koji Igarashi.
he actually talked a bit about Konami, saying that they bully their employees and stuff. So that
really?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Is that in relation to the new game he's building?
Yeah, well, IGN, I think, interviewed him after he announced the game, and they asked him a bit about what do you think about the situation with Konami and Kojima, and they're like he's like financially what they're doing makes sense, but they're bullies, and they I don't know, some weird stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
but I'm curious now. I want to email David Hayter and ask him how he feels about being the stretch goal for a villain in the game.
That's awesome, though. He got cast. The goal was reached in like a few hours, and that's awesome.
Was it? Is it really?
Just like 4 hours they reached like the however 100,000 they needed, and then some. They still got tons of days left they'll probably
They're well
get,
over
like,
into the
millions.
millions now.
I have
they're in
not
the
checked on
millions
it since the day I read the article. I haven't checked on the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
When I originally checked it, it only had like 100,000 out of the goal that it needed. But that's amazing. The fans for that franchise obviously want to see something you know better turned out than what they've got. So, any final thoughts from you, Young, on this subject?
I mean, the future looks a bit bleak in my opinion. But you know, it is what it is. The world moves on. I just hope that Kojima finds a new home where he can do what he loves, and you know, I hope he can give us more awesome games. I don't care if it's Metal Gear or not. You know, whatever he
Right.
comes up with, I'll play. So
Yeah.
Aluminum Cog. That's the new one. I'm telling you.
right.
Ronan, your final thoughts on this subject?
Yeah, just for me, I could see this kind of thing happening. I mean, when you look at the case that's going on with Nintendo right now,
Yeah.
especially with their somewhat shift into the mobile market by putting a lot of their famous IPs on that as well, along with whatever they plan on doing with the upcoming NX, whatever they're going to call that when that comes out. But yeah, I don't know. Like reading the thing with
Like
Koji.
the Nokia big. Remember the old Nokia phone? That was
Jesus Christ!
like we're gonna get one of those. There
I
was
mean,
a
the
No-
gamepad
there was
is
a
almost
Nokia-
that for the Wii U, right?
There was
it's big enough.
Young, have you seen it was a Nokia phone, but it was a gaming phone. Like it was built for gaming. It had a D-pad on it and everything. We need something like that. That's the only way it's acceptable. Okay.
Yeah. You see, at least Nintendo, they say, you know, we have not abandoned dedicated consoles. We're just shifting a bit towards mobile. We're doing a little bit, you know, we're doing both, but we're definitely focusing. Konami's just like, yeah, we're banning ship mobile.
Yeah,
Here we
fuck
go.
that, guys. We're
That's
out.
what I'm saying. If it was like that with Konami, I think I personally would be okay with it. I wouldn't mind, only getting one or two franchises a year from them. I mean, you got to keep in mind that the game market right now is flooded with games. Like it's oversaturated with the amount of games that are coming out. So I wouldn't mind just getting a couple, from them a year or every other year, and that would be okay. But to say we don't want to do that anymore, I think is ridiculous, and it may have something to do with the high cost to develop one of these games. That's my closing statement for this. Was the game itself? You can think they can spend millions and millions of dollars on one game, and it sells decent. They recruit less money, or they could just put a little bit of money into a bunch of games over mobile. I think that's what the business model is, and I don't necessarily like that. I like what you guys said to kind of split it, split it up.
Right.
But Ronan, did you have some final thoughts on this, man?
Oh no, that's it.
Okay. All right, well, that clears up subject one. Subject two, which is the one that you guys have all been waiting for, I'm very sure. Metal Gear Solid 5 preview this past weekend, this past week, I believe. I think some people got to stay a couple extra days and play Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, which my opening statement for this is going to be, somebody said over 150 hours. Is that possible? Is it 150 hours?
I don't know.
Over?
There's this sheet that somebody leaked that lists out all the missions, and then at the bottom it says, this game is 150 hours without, and it cuts off.
Yeah.
And so it's like, without what? Without the side ops, without online, what do you mean? But
Right.
no,
that's crazy.
yeah, that is insane. No, but I can totally see it being 150 hours. I think somebody said that they played 7 hours of the game, and that little label that tells you how the percentage of how much you completed?
Yeah.
4%. 7 hours, 4%. Like that, what? Yeah, that's insane. So, and also the first couple of missions that they played at the MGS5 preview was just the first dozen or so missions
Like the first
of
chapter, I
chapter
think.
1.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Which I was confused about that when I first read it. I thought it was 11 missions total, and that was it. Like, you know what I mean? But what makes sense for nowadays? You know what I mean? Like Call of Duty's like 8 missions long or 12. Battlefield's 4 or 6. It's actually 6. Excuse me, 6 missions in Battlefield. 6 whole missions, I might add.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing that I expect from games nowadays. And when I saw 150 hours, I immediately thought the Skyrim comparison is holding true.
The fact that you can host an event and have journalists play a game for 2
That
days
long.
straight and be confident about that, I think speaks volumes for how big Metal Gear Solid 5 is. I mean, they're like, yeah, they haven't done anything yet. I mean,
Yeah.
because most companies don't do that, because they know,
Yeah.
if we leave them there for 2 days, that they're going to play a huge chunk of the game right there
Yeah.
and then.
You can
With Metal
beat
Gear,
pretty much any game in 2 days.
yeah, exactly.
Right
With
Just
Metal Gear
about.
Solid 5, it's like, yeah, go at it. Yeah, good luck getting to, however far you're going to get. You're not going to get anywhere. That's the feeling I get from this. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. I think it's very confident for them to do that. And I think a part of the reason why they're doing this is because they might not be at I don't know. Have they been confirmed for E3 with a Kojima debacle? I don't know if they're
I don't
making
know.
an appearance.
Yeah, I don't
Some
know.
people have been asking about that.
I think it would be a huge missed opportunity if they don't show anything there for MGS5.
I don't know if he'll be there,
Yeah,
regardless.
they might show a trailer and stuff,
It
but I
might
don't think
maybe they'll have the I forget what the guy's name, but the English speaking guy that does like the English Kojima station. Maybe
Oh,
they'll have
yeah.
him here
Maybe.
instead of.
I mean, yeah, they could do that, but like, or they might have Kojima show up just to please the fans, making them happy.
they'll
I
bombard
think they
him
have
with
him
questions.
I think they have him locked up in the cell right now. he's he's locked up in the no internet office. So yeah, I mean, Ronan, how do you go about streaming 150 hours of a game, man?
Good luck.
What do you-
Well,
what do
you
you
do
think?
you do that,
We lost your audio. Hey, we lost your audio. Okay, he's gonna have to come back, I think. But yeah, while he fixes that problem, so yeah, the 150 hours seems just insane to me to bring into a game that, I mean, obviously it's always long. It's always been kind of long, but never that long. It's
Yeah.
never ever been that long. Like,
Mhm.
Ronan, you here?
No audio.
No, no audio. He has a new setup, I believe, and he's fixing the mixer there.
Sure.
But yeah, so the original journalist that showed up there was some big ones like IGN and Metal Gear Informer,
Right.
things like that. Do you have any opinion on that situation? Do you maybe think like people that cover Metal Gear more should have been invited other than some of the guests that we saw there? Like, how do you feel about how they picked to do the media stuff
Yeah.
there? Because I feel like my personal opinion, just so we're clear, is I feel like people like you and people like that are really in depth into the Metal Gear should have gone. Obviously, IGN, PC Gamer, those things are going to go because they're the big outlets.
Right.
But they brought some YouTubers and stuff in as well. What are your opinion on that?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's disappointing that I wasn't invited, but Konami has a reason for their decision. Maybe I'm just so invested in Metal Gear that they'll think I'll figure everything out from just those first few
Right.
missions of the game. And maybe they think that I can't be trusted with the information because I'm just such an excited guy for this game.
You're gonna make a theory video.
Yeah,
So
I don't
on
know
the
why.
spot.
I mean, I'm not upset about it. I'm, it
All right,
is what it
testing?
is.
Testing?
I got you. You're good.
But,
Okay, cool.
yeah. Oh, you're back. Hey, yeah, I do think
Yeah.
that it's weird. Some of the choices they made, and
Right.
not
Yeah, I'm not
to-
saying it necessarily has to be like a jealousy thing or you should have been there
Sure,
thing.
yeah.
But that's my point. Is it was weird that people that aren't normally associated with Metal Gear or sites, not to talk bad about any sites, but sites
right,
that
right.
might not be as big as some of the press that they could have had there, they weren't there, and it just seemed kind of odd to me that they did it like that. I'm telling you, it's the Patriots, man.
Yeah, like I think Sniper Wolf got invited, and
Yep.
I don't know if she covers Metal Gear. I think like her name is Sniper Wolf, but
Yeah.
that's that's pretty
That's a
much
whole
it.
debacle.
I mean, she has a huge audience though, so
Ronan,
it's
you
kind
gotta-
yeah, she has a huge audience, so it makes sense that she's invited. I guess my audience isn't like as big as her. She has like 1 million subscribers. I have 100,000. So, but I think it would have been cool to invite some of the people who have a little more knowledge on the whole Metal Gear lore.
That's
And,
that's the same thing that I was expecting, was some more people that just know the general thing of Metal Gear. And yeah, I'm sure she's played Metal Gear before. I think she's stated that a couple times. But her channel mainly focuses on like Call of Duty
Right.
and like Let's Plays and stuff like that.
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna leak anything. I'm not gonna be like, guys, here's the ending. Here's all the story. Like, I'm not. I can be professional.
Of
I can
course.
sign a contract and be like, yeah, I'll follow the rules. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't trust me with that because I've just been so on Metal
There's
Gear
just
that
so
they're
many weird things happening, and then that caught my attention, and I'm curious, Ronan, what do you think about the choice of press and media? I know you kind of got disconnected from the call, but
Yeah.
we switched topics to the press and media that Konami invited out to play the Phantom Pain. Obviously, the big ones were there, like IGN and whatnot, and I think like Games Radar, stuff like that were there. But they invited some YouTubers and some other media companies out that don't necessarily cover Metal Gear as in depth as some of the other people that we know around the community.
Right.
What do you think about that choice? Is there a reason behind that? Was it just like anybody in the LA or Los Angeles or California area?
I don't think it was that. Honestly, business-wise, they were trying to go after the biggest audience they could get. And that meant the people that had the largest viewing audience, the largest subscribers, whatever they could possibly get, because in their eyes, the more people that see this when the coverage does, get lifted from embargo, the better for them, right?
Right.
right. But
Let's-
I feel like
let's-
they can give out better information. The people who even if they don't have as much subscribers, the guys who know Metal Gear can give out
Right.
better information.
You
and
would-
that
And
is
not
more
just
effective.
that, but like if you think about it, let's say Sniper Wolf has a million subs. I don't know her exact thing, but let's say she has a million, and let's say that only a couple thousand of those million are interested in Metal Gear, as opposed to somebody like Young's channel, where he has 100 and you're at like 180 or almost 200. 120 something. It's growing constantly. I can't keep track of it, but it's got 120 plus thousand active subscribers that want Metal Gear.
Right.
Like it's 120,000 almost guaranteed sales and interests, as opposed to a big number, and we don't know how many of those people actually care.
Well, let's take a look at Konami's most recent actions, for example. And this kind of goes a little off the record. Let's put it this way, in the sense that a lot of these interviews that we've been doing lately and stuff like that Konami has got eyes on. Whenever they posted that in tweets on Twitter, they only included Young in that tweet. They didn't include FraggedNation at all. It was just Young. That was it.
That's true.
That's weird.
That's very true.
So they're trying to tag their franchise with the bigger names to get it out there in more eyes of the public.
Yeah, and I can understand that to a degree. That doesn't bother me. I mean, obviously when they watch the video, Young credits both of us fairly well.
Obviously,
So-
right.
And so I don't mind that, but yeah, I think it is weird when businesses do that, and not all of them are like that. I want to make sure that everybody is aware that there's companies out there that I've worked with, like for instance EA. I know we talk a lot of trash about EA, but EA sends review copies of games to FraggedNation, which they don't have to. We're a smaller company. Our YouTube is incredibly smaller than it should be. We had an incident, a while ago where the ex YouTube manager before me deleted it when he left. So I had to build it from scratch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they understand. We've got an audience, and they work with us on that kind of thing. Whereas if you're a regular reviewer or something like that, and you don't have 10 plus K, they won't send you anything. Like they're not interested in doing that. But there's companies
And
out
it's
there
understandable why they do it.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
understandable.
no fault to them, but it's weird that some companies understand that, and it seems like a lot of people have been pointing out in the media that Konami just doesn't seem to understand like practices of the now times. Like they do weird archaic things. But I want to stay on topic. We've only got probably 10 or 15 minutes left here before we call the show. Sure. But I want to cover some more Metal Gear preview stuff. The next thing I want to cover is the skulls. Big thing going on right now. I'm going to lay my theory down on the skulls first, and then we'll let Young and Ronin kind of dissect that, and then put in their own opinions on it. So based on what I've seen, here's my thought and theory on the skulls. So I feel like the skulls are obviously biomechanical. We know that is what they were confirmed to be biomechanical. They don't talk much. They make weird noises. But here's my theory on how they work. I don't think they're a boss now. After seeing and hearing some of this stuff, I have a feeling they're not a boss. I have a feeling that they are the basically the big backup to like an area. Like if you're playing in Afghanistan and you constantly like get alarms, or you're like completing missions or objectives, I feel like if you complete so many that they're going to deploy the skulls to kind of track you down And I feel like maybe that's what we were seeing in the cutscene was the skulls being deployed in an area to find you, and you might have to, evade the skulls because it was confirmed by a Twitter user on the Metal Gear Solid preview day that he didn't want to fight the skulls, and it seemed like it was pointless to fight them, at least at that particular stage in the campaign. So I feel like they're kind of like that specialized unit that comes in to hunt you down once you start completing more and more objectives. Similar to some other games, how if you're doing really well, it kind of scales the difficulty up and makes the enemies harder to kill or easier to find you, or like the hard mode that we just played in Ground Zeroes, where those particular soldiers will have the better sight, the better vision, rather than all of them having that kind of thing. So. Jan, we'll open up with you. Thoughts on my theory on the skulls, and then your own.
I think from what I've seen, it seems as though every journalist. I could be wrong because I'm just so tired from covering all this information. But from what I feel like I saw, the skulls seem to come in at a very specific moment in a specific mission. From what I saw, so my thought is that they're not necessarily bosses, but at the same time, they might be sub-bosses, maybe. And or they could just be sort of, I guess, the brutes of the game, sort of another class of soldiers or enemies. It's hard to say if we'll, because I don't know if we'll see them more in the future, or if it's just like this one little incident for this one specific mission. Like Quiet, for example, I think they confirmed that she is a boss battle, actually.
They did.
That, I'm sure, it's a one-time thing, unless maybe they're depending on your choices, maybe you can have some kind of fallout happen, and maybe there can be a second battle. But with the skulls, I feel like they're more like NPCs, like the soldiers that are patrolling, except these ones are placed in specific spots to make the mission, more difficult, whatever it is. The thing that I'm more curious about is who are they? How somebody said they're being controlled, they're being commanded by someone familiar. And that to me is curious. I don't know if they meant just Skullface because Skullface, or if it's something more extensive like Psycho Mantis, who may be mind controlling them. Maybe they're just brainless kind of zombie-like creatures that Psycho Mantis can control as puppets, or who I'm assuming to be young Mantis, the little kid. And I think speaking of which, one guy said if you I don't know if you saw this tweet from the European press. Some guy said if a certain MGS1's villain's mindfuckery is your thing, then you'll be pleasantly surprised by what you'll see in Phantom Pain. That to me says, Psycho Mantis.
I don't know how that tweet got cleared, because that's a big spoiler.
Yeah,
tweet,
that's kind of spoilery. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people knew that it is young. Yeah. It looks just like
definitely does.
It could be young Mantis. The gas mask, the same like floating like pose and everything. Yep. But that kind of, it's not 100% confirmed. Konami, nobody has said anything about that. It's just something that one guy said that has me thinking pretty much confirmed. But again, it's not 100% confirmation. But I think maybe this young Mantis or whatever it is, has some kind of role in controlling them and commanding them, whatever. That's just my theory. But I personally don't think that they are enemies that kind of that scale up to how how many missions you complete. I think they are placed in specific spots personally, but still a lot of mysteries for the skulls.
Ronin,
they'll probably sprinkle them out throughout the gameplay in certain sequences. At least I think it would probably work out best in terms of gameplay flow, I guess you could say. Although I mean, you end up in a lot of situations in open world games like this where let's say GTA, for example, where you do some bad shit, the cops get on your ass about it, and suddenly that escalates as you get more stars, and suddenly you're fighting the military, for example.
That's what I was that's my kind of thought on.
And I mean, they could do that, but in all honesty, you don't really know. But I think it would make more sense to have them sprinkled out in certain sequences, at least in terms of keeping the gameplay balanced and stuff like that. So.
There's no reason why it can't be like that, and still, like Young said, you find a certain group of them, like the 1 through 4, I believe we saw in like the head or whatever, might be like the big main group, and then there might be like the other little
Yeah.
sub ones out there.
There are also games that like present certain enemies as sub bosses, and then in later stages they're just regular enemies. They kind of because the player progresses through the game, their character becomes stronger and they get more knowledge and whatever. So so that could be possible. Maybe in the first few missions, they are more of sub-bosses and sprinkled throughout, but then as the game progresses, maybe they'll kind of become what you said about, like the GTA kind of format, where the more chaos you cause, the bigger the stakes and the army they send. So it could be a little bit of both.
Yeah, and it kind of brings into question, like, how they want to handle that, because, the game is, from what I've seen from those tweets, it is incredibly open-ended. And a lot of missions you tackle, or the way you tackle those missions are based on not only what time of day you do it, how you want to do it, but also the resources you have on hand. And if it was an instance where they were to throw these incredibly tough enemies at you from the get-go, you'd kind of be at a loss for a while because you don't have the resources to handle that. So it's for me, it's kind of strange, and my theory about where they come from, like they said in the tweets, the person that's controlling them is a familiar character, and that kind of leaves it a little ambiguous, because we know there's a lot of characters in MGS. We've seen a lot of characters, at least in this so far, and but tying that into what the other person said about the mind fuckery part of one of the missions that they were on, it kind of lends hand to possibly being Psycho or something Psycho Mantis related at least. And I'm really curious to see that now after reading a lot of these tweets from that. Yeah.
So before we move on, while you guys were telling me your cool theories and stuff, I kind of made a small connection. It could be similar to the cargo elevator in Metal Gear Solid 1, where you fight those 4 cloaked soldiers who are
horsemen.
They're a little stronger than the regular guys in that uniform. They had like the BDU dress with the helmets and all that kind of stuff. They're a little tougher to kill. Like, I think to kill one of those guys, you need to shoot them like 3 or 4 times. And these ones you had to shoot like 6 or 7 times each in order to kill them in the little cargo helicopter or the cargo elevator in Metal Gear Solid 1. So maybe something like that, just expanded upon, where you're going to find these enemies and specific things, like Young said, as kind of, I consider that a sub boss. It's sub boss is however you want to put it.
They're really strong from what I've heard. Apparently, regular bullets really
said don't even worry about trying to they said don't even try and bother tranking them.
Don't even bother tranking them. And also
because they're biomechanical. So
exactly. And I think a few of them managed to kill 1 or 2, and they only could do that with like rocket launchers, basically.
It's crazy.
So that already speaks volumes for how strong.
I can't wait to see that, and it looks amazing. So the next thing that we had here was keeping in line with the Metal Gear news and stuff, was head transplant stuff. It came back up, man. I mean, these weird coincidences with head transplants and things like that. What's going on with that, Young? You have a video that you just released recently, a couple minutes long. It was like 9 minutes long.
I haven't followed too much of that, so I'd like a refresher on that.
So check this out, because Young's about to educate us real quick. Give us the brief overview of that video, and then tell us how that applies.
Okay. There's a lot, so it's hard to keep all of it in mind, but I'll say what I remember.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Whatever you got, man. No worries.
So basically, there's this guy named Dr. Canavero, and he looks a lot as an identical to the Doctor in MGS5, The Phantom Pain. And some guy noticed this on NeoGAF, so he dug in a little bit. Who is this guy? And he's a neurologist, and he specializes, and he used to do stuff with phantom pain, phantom limb, central pain syndrome, which goes in line with the phantom pain.
Right.
And now we discover that he's done TEDx talk on this project he's working in, the Heaven Project. And this Heaven Project is head transplantation. And so a lot of people are basically assuming that maybe head transplantation comes into play because not only is there a resemblance between these two people, but also, the project is called Heaven, Phantom Limbs, head transplantation. And then they dug more, and then they noticed even crazier coincidences, like the guy's book, his latest book about this head transplantation thing, lists out things like clones, Gemini Frontiers, which is MSF, Militaire Sans
Right.
Frontières.
Yeah.
And all
In
these
capitals,
terms,
we might say.
right, Gemini, all these terms that Metal Gear fans can clearly kind of
Yep.
associate with.
Yeah.
And then, just a bunch of crazy clues. Kojima recently posted something about Gemini.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
an album,
Yeah, I saw that.
and the cover has these two guys who kind of made.
Yeah, we
some
were
people are
talking
saying-
a little bit about that with
Yeah.
our last guest. We had
Yeah.
that weird album cover. We talked about it in the post show, and
Right, and in my video, I kind of, I don't know if you've seen the intro to Snake Eater, but
Yeah.
they have this weird kind of imagery that kind of matches up with the album, but that
Yep.
that could just be me. That's just something that I noticed.
Right,
And so
right.
basically, all these coincidences are leading people to think that Dr. Canavero has something to do with Metal Gear Solid 5, and that head transplantation comes into play, and so that makes a lot of
Yeah.
theories. I
Yeah,
guess
just balloon out.
suddenly a little more plausible.
Yeah.
And I initially, when I first got wind of this, I was like, holy shit, maybe there's something here. But then after looking at all the crazy coincidences, I think it's just there. It's a
just
little
crazy.
too much. There's no way for all of this to be planned.
Yeah.
Look, Kojima, he's a clever guy. He's done crazy things with like the Phantom Pain, with how he advertised that. But the misleading stuff that he did were obvious, to the audience that, this was a ruse. Like the Phantom Pain. It took, only, a few hours a day maybe for them to figure out that Metal Gear
Right.
Solid 5, fit in those, in the gaps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Joaquin Mogren stuff was fairly obvious. It's an anagram for Hideo Kojima. He made it obvious enough. He never does anything that crazy. And
Right.
I think people they're taking the Phantom Pain stuff, the Metal Gear Solid 2 ending, and they're getting this idea that Kojima is crazier than we think he is. But
So we already know he's crazy.
he's crazy in the best way possible. But I don't think it's worth it for Konami or Kojima to plan all these ridiculous things for no reason. So for me, it's just all crazy, ridiculous coincidences, and I've seen crazier stuff, honestly, coincidence-wise, in this world we live in. But if this is true somehow, then it certainly opens up a lot of possibilities. But I just, it's hard to say. Ooh, Twizzler, I'm hungry. But that's basically the summary. There's just a lot to it. I can't remember all the coincidences. They're all in my videos, but it's pretty crazy stuff, though. I mean, I must admit, I'm kind of shaken by how crazy these coincidences are.
all right. So that was the recap on that. The last topic. We're gonna do this kind of like a free form because it's gonna be the ending of the show here. We're gonna let each co-host here talk about a specific thing from the Metal Gear Solid preview. So while I do mine, you guys think of ones that you might want to talk about. My thing that I want to pick your guys' brains on is we saw in some of the Metal Gear Solid preview tweets that there may as well be interiors as exteriors. I was really upset when I played Ground Zeroes and I couldn't go in any of the buildings there except for like the little storage rooms just to get stuff. Metal Gear for me is a mixture of outdoor and indoor, but mostly indoor because that's you spend a lot of time infiltrating, Shadow Moses or Groznygrad had the different layouts and the different buildings, and it had a good mix of outdoor and indoor, and even some of the sub-outdoor interiors, like there was a house with different levels, and there was like a guard base and stuff like that. It varied it up. And then coming into Ground Zeroes, we had nothing but the little tiny storage rooms. I don't know how big they're going to be though. Like I'm trying to think about the layout of the Afghanistan map that we've seen, and then I'm trying to think of how an installation would fit on there, and if it fits on there, would it be multiple stories? Could it have ventilations and air ducts through it? How do you render that kind of stuff? When in an open world game like in Grand Theft Auto, you see the open world, and you can go in some buildings, and some of them are kind of detailed. Unfortunately, it's like the weird ones, like the strip club and stuff like that. All have a gracious interior, but then you see ones like the gun store, which just have like the main little lobby, and I'm frightened that, in an open world game, it's hard to render both outdoor and indoor. And a perfect example of this is Arma. Arma is a PC game. Obviously, it's not as technologically advanced as Metal Gear Solid's Fox engine is, so it possibly could be done. But there's interiors in Arma, and there's quite a few. There's like over 100 something enterable buildings, but they're all really bland inside. There's not really much detail. There's no ducking throughout the things, to crawl in or anything like that. Granted, it's not that type of game. I'm just using it as an example of a game that's open world, huge, but has buildings in it as well. They're all just very plain and simple. What do you guys think about the future of Metal Gear Solid's interior gameplay, which to me is probably the most important thing coming up in here, because I really miss infiltrating something.
Yeah, first of all, I totally agree with you. I think MGS4 for me, I loved that game, but there was too much exterior infiltration, I guess. I loved the battlefield concept, but I really wished that I could infiltrate an interior. And I know, Chapter 4 was Shadow Moses, but that was kind of pretty much empty.
Yeah, it was really quick to go through there.
And Chapter 5, it was kind of more of a giant action set piece. It wasn't really all that stealthy for me, if that makes sense. But I think that Metal Gear Solid 5, from what I've read in the tweets, will have giant freaking buildings. And I think there's one mission where you have to infiltrate like a Soviet military fort. And I think one guy said that, it's massive. He said it's massive.
Right.
We've also seen, I don't know if you remember from the African Jungle gameplay, in the distance you can kind of see this mansion, this giant freaking mansion. It's like 2 stories or something. So I think Metal Gear Solid, I think Kojima knows that people also want to infiltrate interior environments, and he will offer that. And I think it'll be seamless. You'll start out in the open world and in the exterior, and you can move into these facilities seamlessly, and it's going to be
I hope so.
huge. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, and I think that's what we'll get.
Yeah.
Awesome. Ronin, what do you think about interior infiltration missions in Metal Gear Solid 5? Are they coming?
I pretty much agree with all you guys are saying about the need to have those interior sequences and environments that you can go into and play stealthy.
Right. Are you as optimistic as we are about it?
I see. For me, because I have seen a lot.
The voice of reason over here.
I'm trying to be optimistic, but there's there's always that pessimistic side of me that just says, "Look, don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up. Just don't." But for me, playing, for example, MGS3, for example, that was more of a, the whole outdoors thing. There were a couple of indoor environments, obviously, for, important set pieces, for example. I feel like, with the technology that we have these days, they can obviously model those to epic scales like we've been hearing in the tweets so far. But I feel like it'll be another one of those cases where it is, these are certain isolated instances in the environment that they model for you to go into. Because I can't see a game, I don't care how good the hardware is, I cannot see a game where every building they model has some sort of interior or some large interior inside of it without it hindering performance in some way. And keep in mind, they're trying to keep this game running at 60 frames a second. Yeah. On consoles at the same time.
Sure.
So there's a lot of sacrifices you have to make to do something like that. Mm-hmm. But I'm hopeful that with the tweets that we've seen so far and how excited they are for what they've seen so far, it sounds like they're doing the way they've handled it seems to be the good mix between outdoor and indoor environments, I would say.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's just from the tweets that I've read, nobody said, "Oh, there was a loading screen. Oh, there was this."
Yeah.
They've all said it's completely seamless. So that to me, that has me hopeful.
Right. And I hope the same as well. But here's my concern, and keep this in mind. You did a coverage of the African gameplay analysis. Yeah. Do you remember during that section where Snake it was one of the first ones where he infiltrated the little city, and it was the one where he killed the helicopter with the car or whatever?
Wait, that's the African Jungle?
No, it's the Afghanistan gameplay.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, during that sequence, he went inside a couple buildings, and they didn't look huge, and that's what got me initially concerned about it. As I was like, oh wait, it's Afghanistan, gameplay. There's going to be, lots of small little mud hut villages with no detail inside. That's what got me concerned. Do you think that's not going to be an issue?
No, like the Metal Gear hangar, for example, that looks humongous by itself.
Yeah.
But, no, I think we're going to see a lot of, like the preview said, military forts. What we saw were, little towns and stuff like that. But Afghanistan, as Ocelot said, Afghanistan is a big place. So we're gonna see a lot of giant infiltration, interior infiltration buildings. I think from what the previews have said,
Yeah.
they've blatantly stated, I've infiltrated these giant Russian, Soviet forts.
Awesome.
And I think they just didn't want to show their hands, or their cards too early. I think that's what it was.
Right.
But I think they'll maybe show that off, maybe at E3 or something, because I think that's a valid concern, and I think they should address it. Maybe show a little bit of how big an interior can be.
Yeah,
with
that
the
would be a
Fox
good
engine
idea.
and its capabilities. But I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic.
June 6th is or 9th. Is it 6th or 9th?
9th.
9th is when the embargo lifts.
June 9th. We will hopefully have some more Metal Gear information. So that's my closing thing. Yong, what did you have something you wanted to talk to us about as far as the Metal Gear Solid preview goes?
Just if you want to be updated on it, check out the videos that I've been releasing. I still got a ton more to do.
Looking forward to those.
I'm gonna do a roundup of all the information, and because right now I've been doing all tweets, but I want to get all the information and kind of organize that in a manner that people can easily understand.
Right.
But no, it's exciting stuff. The Metal Gear Solid 5 preview, and June 9th, I am gonna die. Cause
what was your favorite thing from all the released information? Let's do that. What piece of information got you the most excited?
Probably the fact that Quiet is a boss battle.
Yep.
Because I was like, she's a support buddy, so I guess maybe she won't be a boss battle, but she is, and that has me excited. And people who have played that boss battle were like, yeah, the open world. It blends seamlessly with the open world. It works. It's an awesome boss battle. There's a lot of tension. They've all said awesome things about it. That's great. Just the first boss battle. So I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my theory down on this for you real quick. My theory is the Quiet boss battle, if you lethal takedown, she's dead. And if you trank takedown, you'll have the ability to recruit her.
That's what I said too in my video.
That's gonna make
Did you say that?
2 playthroughs.
I haven't seen that video yet, but that's funny that we have the same thought on that.
That's my exact thought.
That's what I think about that. So that's awesome. Ronin, your favorite thing from the Metal Gear Solid preview stuff we're getting?
The whole research and resource management part of it. Sounds like a pretty awesome thing, because from what I read on those tweets, they made it seem like you not only do you have to research to get a lot of this this awesome equipment and weapons and stuff like that, and some of that stuff you find in the environment for missions, for example. Like one mission they mentioned, you had to find a missile launcher called the Honeybee. I feel like a lot of that is going to come down to how you manage your resources, whether you want to tackle a mission during the day or at night, and you kind of address your loadouts, quote unquote, accordingly. And I think that can make for a lot of interesting playthroughs, because everyone's going to play it differently.
I think it extends the gameplay a lot, too.
Oh, absolutely, because you can tackle missions in so many different ways because it's so open-ended.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, speaking of that, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, speaking of that, somebody tweeted that you can select your character.
Yeah, I saw that too.
What does that mean?
What? Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. Like somebody said that,
Wait, what?
There's kind of like some
Tell
sort
me the tweet. I
gotta find that again.
Yeah, it's lost in there. I don't know, but there was a guy who said you can choose your weapon, your primary, secondary gadgets. Oh, and your character. I'm like, wait, what? And then another tweet said, "Can you play as Ocelot? Can you play as Quiet?
Yeah.
I don't know what Kojima's hiding." And I'm like, "Wait, is there like a menu like in Peace Walker where you can choose like a character can you play as Ocelot, or eventually if you acquire support buddies?" I don't know what he meant by that.
Maybe he was referring to the support buddies, like the character that you bring with you. Could be.
He said you can select your character. Yeah, maybe it was a sort of a mistranslation, or he just didn't.
I'm going to be optimistic and hope that it's like you said, where you can kind of choose the different soldiers. I like that aspect of Peace Walker. I like being able to play the submissions as some of the other characters that increase their stats and stuff, and it was cool to just play as a different character skin. I remember getting some of the guys really high leveled up, and they would just run through missions as a breeze, and they counteracted that by saying, if you tried to play Snake on this mission, it was like, can't, Snake's deployed, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, the resource management though that Ronin was talking about here, I love that, man. I think that that really extends the gameplay, because I'm that kind of player where like I'll play the story, and then if the game's like you should get more resources before doing this, I like to do that. Like I like to extend the story as long as possible. but I know a lot of people will, be able to bypass that, which is what they said. They said you could run through the whole game as quickly as possible and not do any of the side quests if you wanted to.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think that resource management adds an additional element outside of those side ops and stuff, and it's a great
Yeah,
that's a
and like
great feature.
one of the tweets that I read as well, like from some of the I believe it was from some of the Europe coverage, but one person was talking about how the game doesn't necessarily force the idea of you having to evolve and advance Mother Base to do certain missions, for example. He said that some missions require that, but they don't try to shove it down your throat, making you do that to do it. You can always choose whether or not you want to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it makes for a lot of time that you're going to spend in the game trying to do things like that. And for example, when you're trying to call in help from Mother Base, for example, a lot of those resources that you're taking from Mother Base, that actually gets taken away from your resources. You have to manage that.
Yeah.
And when you fault, you faulting people away into Mother Base, that gets taken up, that gets added to your resources. I know there's a couple of funny instances that I read in tweets where people were faulting in equipment, and it could land on boss's head at the same time. I thought that was pretty good. I'm
That's
like,
hilarious.
Kojima's still in there somewhere.
Right.
No, I think somebody actually tweeted, this game definitely has Kojima's signature in every aspect.
Yeah.
And then he deleted the tweet. I think Konami wanted that to be deleted.
Yeah.
It's weird. He deleted the tweet. So I think they just don't
Censorship, man.
Yeah, well,
I'm tired of it. Everybody's always censoring everything, taking down the videos, taking down people's tweets.
Yeah.
Damn it, man. I tell you what. Well, to close out then, since everybody wants to censor everything, a certain person who will not be named tweeted that Quiet was cooler and better than Sniper Wolf. Thoughts on that? That's the end. What do you think? Is that possible? Quiet's really cool. Stephanie Houston is really, really awesome and a nice lady. But Tasia Valenza, man, when she was here, when she, did her little Sniper Wolf voice, or even when she was talking about Poison Ivy, I'm like, that's a bad lady right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is it possible that Quiet could be better than Sniper Wolf?
I disagreed with the wording. The wording was, make Sniper Wolf look like a noob. No. That is simply
I didn't
not
want to put it out
possible.
there because you don't know, but we had a little bit of drama this weekend where I made a video explaining that this particular person didn't want to come on the show, and they kind of handled it a little unprofessionally, and I made a video about it because I'm an upfront kind of guy. I'm just going to tell you like it is. I'm live. This is my show. I'm going to say what I want, or our show. We are going to say what we want, and I'm not going to censor anybody that wants to say anything about anything. And that's the way I felt about it. It wasn't mean or rude to this particular person. I just said they didn't handle it in the best way. And the FraggedNation staff actually removed my video off of the channel, which is just crazy. So there's some things that I don't agree with certain YouTubers and certain people. And I feel like I should be able to express that. And as long as I'm not coming off rude or mean, I think I should be able to say what we want. And I agree 100% with you, Young. This particular YouTuber in general it just didn't seem like, why would you say that?
I don't know. Especially when,
Quiet can be a good guy? Like a good girl, whatever?
No, I mean, I can totally agree with Quiet being cool and maybe some people preferring her, but come on. You can't make Sniper Wolf a noob. It looks like a noob.
Sniper Wolf is the OG. She's the OG of Sniper. Okay, you can't do that. You can't do that. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I think Quiet is cool. I think Stephanie's fantastic. Yeah. But, dude.
Those are bold claims that I
she's like one of the only bosses that was ever able to capture Solid Snake.
Yeah.
And she did it in such an amazing way.
Yeah.
And
she did.
So she captured him in Metal Gear Solid 1. He didn't really get captured in Metal Gear Solid 2. We didn't play as him. And then in Metal Gear Solid 4, was he ever captured?
Well, 4? Liquid Ocelot kind of owned his ass.
Like the
3,
CQC match.
I don't think he was ever captured.
Let's put it lightly.
So she's like the only boss to actually physically get Snake in such a complex way too, by shooting the girl that he liked. Like, damn,
exactly.
There's no way you can make her look like a noob.
I know.
You just can't.
No. And she gives off this vibe of, I have experience. Quiet still seems young and kind of...
Yeah.
She has a lot of cool powers, but she still seems a bit inexperienced. But I think she's awesome. She looks amazing. She's cool. But Sniper Wolf, she always has a special place in my heart, and she will never be a noob, no matter what.
Yeah, I think so as well. Are you agreeing with us, Ronin? Are you going to try to stay neutral?
like I know I'll come forward and say that I know a lot of what I just said is coming from nostalgia because Sniper Wolf was the original, obviously.
Yeah.
But for me, Sniper Wolf will always be number one in my book, at least when it comes to Metal Gear characters.
Yeah.
Number one in your heart.
Right.
You know
I'll have
what
to
I'm
play the
saying?
game, of course, to see just
Of course.
how
Right,
fast
right.
it is.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll prefer her over Sniper Wolf. That is possible, but I'll still love Sniper Wolf no matter what.
Exactly. And to end, guys, I see a couple of people in the chat said Fortune. You got to remember that I believe that was kind of scripted. Like I believe he gave up on purpose.
Yeah.
In order to keep the ruse going or whatever. So I don't really count him being captured by Fortune in 2 as him actually being captured. Because I think he did it on purpose. But so that about wraps up the show. Obviously, to close out, guys, keep in mind, like I said earlier when we first started, the show is going to be on a weekly basis. It might not be us 3 every single week, but we will have a show for you every single week from here to the foreseeable future, as long as we can do this. We're going to have different guests on here, both Metal Gear and non-Metal Gear related. I believe next week is our Raiden Quentin Flynn interview, and then I think the week after that is some game developers and stuff. So it'll flip flop back and forth, and I'm trying to make sure that we have content scheduled from now until, like I said, as long as we can keep this going. And if there's ever a time where either one of these fine gentlemen can't make it, we'll make sure we have at least something for you guys to come and watch. It's either going to be Friday or Saturday, alternating. I want to keep that like very upfront and clear that it will be every week, but it's not every week on a Friday or a Saturday or Saturday. It's Friday or Saturday. That's the way that we're going to schedule these. That way we give the host, or not the host, but the guest that we bring on the ability to have an option for a day that they can get here. So with that in mind, I appreciate both of my 2 amazing co-hosts. I love talking with you guys, man. It's so much fun, especially when it's Metal Gear and Konami related. I love those 2 subjects in general.
Those are hot topics these days,
They definitely are. And there's a ton more stuff we could talk about, but we're gonna wrap it up. So Ronin, final thoughts, theories, words, anything?
Yeah, man. I'm just after reading those tweets, my excitement levels have definitely gone through the roof about this. And when the embargo lifts on the 9th, but I'm also excited about E3 as well to see if they do have anything planned to show us. And I can't really see any reason why they wouldn't. But I'm excited. I can say that for sure. But I'm excited to keep doing these. These are it's a nice way to sit down and talk about video games as a whole. Let's put it that way. Of course, this being the case of Konami and Metal Gear, because that's kind of the big thing.
Fit,
yeah. Well, I mean, to fit the theme as well too, right?
Yeah.
But this like you said, there's a chance that I might not be here every week, but I can assure you, when it comes down to Metal Gear and stuff like that, there's a good chance I'll be here. Because of these interviews, there's a good chance I'll be here. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you all probably during the next interview with Quentin Flynn. So you guys keep it classy, stay sharp, don't do anything I wouldn't do, and I will see you guys in the next talk show.
Awesome. Same thing for me, guys. I really appreciate it. Pretty good turnout today. Almost 130 people here we don't even have a guest. It's just us here talking. And, you guys can always catch these videos archived on our channel. Young, I don't know if you're going to archive this one.
Record it out. I'm going to archive it.
Okay, perfect. You can check it out on our channels. You can check out Korrupt Ronin. His link's down low in the bio. So is Young's. Make sure you guys give these guys some love for being here today. They're quite amazing. And from Daily over here at Nation Fusion, like I said, always going to get the most honest, upfront answers from me. That's really what I want the show to really embody and be, is an honest, upfront show. And when we bring on these interviews, they're honest, upfront interviews. And what I mean by that is they're not scripted. We don't, pre-record the show or anything like that. We don't, obviously we deliver a questions list to people just to give them an idea of what we're going to ask. But as many of you guys have noted and pointed out, I don't always stick to the script, and that's my dynamic. That's what I like to do. If I've got a question, that I want to ask that I don't feel like they might not answer, I'm not going to put it down, but I'm going to ask it anyways. And if they don't want to answer, that's perfectly fine. We always give them the option to do that. But, somebody's got to ask the hard questions, man, and that's what we want to do. We want to bring these guests on here, make them comfortable, and we want to get to know some stuff. I believe Paul Eiding handled it the best so far. He talked about some controversy with Konami by bringing in different voice actors for like Metal Gear 2 and stuff like that. And, he gave us the insider insight on that kind of stuff. That's what we're trying to do, man. We don't want to be the guys in ties and suits that are saying, do you like the game that you're in? Are you trying to sell 1 billion copies? Like, that's not the interview show that we want to be. We want to just have these guys, be upfront and as real with you as we are with you guys. So that's what we're trying to do. And I really, really appreciate all the love and support that you guys are giving us so far. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Codec, which is the new official name for the show. We'll have some branding and some logos coming up pretty soon, hopefully in the next couple days here. But like I said, keep in mind, not just Metal Gear related. We're going to be doing other things. We've already had Mark Meir on the show, and we plan on bringing some other guests up pretty soon. So stay tuned for that, and we will see you guys next time here on Nation Fusion TV. Yong yeah, everybody, to close out the show as always.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and look forward to more information on the MGS5 preview. Stay tuned on June 9th for just a ton of information. I'll probably be dead by then, but whatever. I'll come back.
I feel like we need definitely have a follow-up show on that. When is the 9th? Is that a weekend or a weekday?
I don't even know.
The 9th is a Tuesday, so I'm thinking on the 12th we'll have another one of these if everybody's in agreement with that. That way we can go over all of the information. Obviously, Yong's going to do a bunch of videos on it. I'm very, very excited to sit down and watch those with my morning breakfast.
Absolutely.
But I know we're going to have a show on that. But
tune in on Nation Fusion for more the Codec and Korrupt Ronin. Awesome streams. And I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.